2-0, the Seattle Seahawks get a win in New England, and it was not super pretty, but it was a win, and that's what matters. This team is the same team that it has been for some reason. There's something about Seattle sports or the Seahawks franchise that for some reason they have to find ways to make games a little sketchy, make them a little questionable, and then find a way to win at the end of the game and win in the fourth quarter. Pete Carroll would have been so proud today. Actually, on his 73rd birthday today, the Seahawks had the classic, can you win the game in the first quarter? Nope. Second quarter? Nope. Third quarter? But can you win the MFR in the fourth? Yes, you can. And they did it again. And it's classic. It's what the Seahawks do. It's what they've done for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, I feel like. And this team is not perfect on offense or on defense. There are really high highs for the defense, but there's also been some low lows. There's been some high highs for the offense and some very low lows when it comes to the offensive line. The run game was not very good without Kenneth Walker today, but they made it work. And one way that they made it work was by putting the ball in Geno Smith's hands when it all mattered, and he drove them down the field multiple times when it mattered, and especially in overtime, to go get in a perfect field goal position and go win the game. And Jason Myers, of course, knocks it down. I felt like it was a guarantee that was going in, and it did. And they win the game 23-20. I almost said 26-20 because that's what they won against the Broncos last week, but 23-20. Now, what is the importance of this 2-0 victory? It's pretty significant. Now, I'm not going to act like this is a guarantee. I don't think stats are guarantees or the end-all be-all of things, but stats do paint a picture. And it's always better to be on the right side of statistical history than to be on the wrong side of statistical history. And the Seahawks are on the right side of it right now. The importance of starting 2-0. Since the NFL expanded its postseason in 1990, opening 2-0 has given teams a significant advantage towards qualifying for the playoffs. In that span, since 1990, 2-0 teams have a 63.8% chance of making the playoffs. Or in other words, 63.8% of teams that have started off 2-0 have made the playoffs. And in contrast, only 41.8% of teams that started off 1-1 have reached the playoffs since 1990. So a loss today would have put you on the side of history of 60% chance you're not making the playoffs and a 40% chance you do. Instead, being 2-0 puts you at a 63 or 64% chance of making the playoffs historically when it comes to statistics. I can't have that word today, statistics. And instead, on the other side, we're at the 37% chance or 36% chance of not making the playoffs after starting off 2-0. So it was important. It's a number, it's a stat, it's not a guarantee, but it's a good, important stat to be on the right side of. So that's a great way to start off this Mike McDonald era, this Seahawks new era. 2-0, really a high chance to compete. Honestly, a team that is now, thankfully, 2-0 in the NFC West and the only 2-0 team there. You had the Cardinals demolish the Rams, and that Cardinals team, don't sleep on them. I don't want anyone to be as good as the Seahawks in the NFC West, but I'm so impressed with them. I thought they should have beat the Bills last week, and that was already impressive the way they competed, and they beat the Rams badly today. And then, so the Rams are 0-2, while you have the 49ers had a pretty bad loss to Sam Darnold and the Vikings, and now you have 0-2 Rams, 1-1 Cardinals, 1-1 49ers, and the 2-0 Seattle Seahawks, the only team that is 2-0 in the NFC West. It feels really good. Now they're going to play the Dolphins next week. We're not sure. It's at home, but we're not sure if Tua is going to be the quarterback. Unfortunately, you hate to see it. He got another concussion, but today they said he is not retiring. It's not his plan, but they're evaluating. I don't think he's going to play next weekend. I mean, after another concussion like that where his body locked up, you'd assume there's a week or two off while he evaluates what he's doing or how long he should be out. I'd just be surprised if from Thursday to the next Sunday he's playing again. But either way, I just want him to be healthy in life. But I don't know who's going to be the quarterback for Miami, but I think regardless, I think the Seahawks at home should have a very good chance at coming out with a victory. And hopefully next week, I'm coming up on Sunday talking about what the importance of 3-0 is. The 70 something, maybe 80% chance of making the playoffs at 3-0. And I haven't looked it up. I don't know what the number is, but that's intentional because I want to stick and focus on the 2-0 thing. But I hope I can come back next week and talk about 3-0 Seattle Seahawks. Here's the percentages. The game was interesting. We had some things that are very exciting to talk about, and then you had some lows, like I mentioned, that are not that exciting to talk about. The defense wasn't as great as expected or as great as it was last week. Now, that's what the Patriots do. The Patriots try to find a way to run the ball down your throat, and Jacoby Brissett played great, don't get me wrong, but they're not putting it on Jacoby Brissett. That's why he had 27 pass attempts to Geno's 44 pass attempts. That's why he had 149 yards to Geno's 327 yards. But he managed that game really well and put his team in a position to win. If he had a better drive on that first drive of overtime, they could go down and score and win the game. They had the opportunity, but they didn't. But what I didn't like from the defense is two things. Nobody on the Patriots had more than 2 catches except for the tight end, Hunter Henry, 8 catches, 109 yards. That is more than half the completions of Jacoby Brissett was to the tight end Hunter Henry and had 109 yards. And this is where my concern is with the middle linebacker group that we have. A lot of times, middle of the field, that's where you're going to need some really good linebackers that can step up and stop a tight end. We don't have that. Jerome Baker was in and out of the game with an injury. So you had Tyrese Knight in a lot. I just didn't like what I saw there. That's been my biggest concern. I've talked about it on our podcast, Seattle on Tap, and I've talked about it on this channel. I don't like that I'm not 100% sold on our linebacking core. Now, I do think it might be a better value than what we would have paid for Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks, and I think we might end up being pretty close to what we had last year. But even what we had last year, despite individual performances by Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner, who's always been individually great, it felt like the linebacking core the last few years just hasn't been as good as it's supposed to be. Whether Bobby Wagner was on the Rams for a year or when he came back to the Seahawks, the defense hasn't been living up to its hype, and the linebacking core hasn't been living up to it, in my humble opinion. But I don't like seeing Hunter Henry 109 yards, 8 catches, up the middle pretty much. So that needs to be worked on. Something needs to be fixed. And I didn't like, obviously, the run defense. Antonio Gibson had 11 carries for 96 yards, and Ramondre Stevenson had 81 yards on 21 carries. So they had a total of 185 yards rushing today on 36 carries. You can't give up 185 yards rushing. Let's say if you end up playing a team that has a competent quarterback. Sorry, that's rude towards Jacoby. He's competent, but you know what I mean. If you're playing a team like, right now, Sunday Night Football, Houston Texans, if Joe Mixon starts putting up 100 rushing yards on you and then you're playing C.J. Stroud on the other side, everything's going to be opening up and you're going to get killed. So you can't be allowing 185 yards rushing on the ground like that. But these are small complaints for a game that ended up in a win. I just had to throw out the complaints. So let's get to the good stuff. The defense made plays when it needed to. The Patriots tried to go down the field, got stopped, and we got the ball back, went down and scored a field goal in overtime to win the game. That's a big plus on the defense. They made some stops in the second half, all second half. The Patriots scored 0 points in the third quarter and 7 points in the fourth quarter. They didn't dominate anything in the second half. They held them to 7 points in the second half, while we got obviously held to 3 points in the third and fourth quarter. But that's another story when I get to the offense. But we held them to 7 points in the second half. That kept us in the game. Everything worked out. We made a stop when it mattered in overtime to get the Seahawks back the ball. They got the ball. They scored. They won. Plain and simple. Defense did their job. And when the defense does their job, the offense feels like, especially with the Seahawks team, the offense finds a way to add on top of them doing their job, which they did. They scored. They won. Let's get to the offense. But before I get to the offense, I want to show you one thing, and please check it out. It's actually legal in the state of Washington, which is a rare case scenario. There is an app called Rebet. Rebet is legal in the state of Washington, California, everywhere. I think it's legal in all but 3 states, Nevada, Idaho, and somewhere else. You can use a promo code ONTAP, and the link will be below in the description, right after my first words of the description. Link below, or promo code ONTAP. You want to use the promo code because they'll match your first deposit up to $100 and match it 100%. So when you log in, If you download the app, you put in $20, it's a minimum of 10. But let's say you put in $20, you'll see it says you're going to get 40 rebet points for $20, or you're going to pick 100, or you're going to pick, let's say, $100 worth. They're going to give you 200 rebet points. Now, it pretty much is the exact same. It translates to anything else. Once you win, let's say right now, I'm going to give you guys one example. Pending right now, I took the Texans minus 5.5 on the spread for 10 rebet points. It wins 18 total payout. So, you win $8, whatever. If I win that, I can take it out as real money. So it's the same as any other betting app, but it's a different way of doing it to make it legal in states like Washington. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. And check it out. Use code ONTAP or use the link below that I show. First time depositors, they'll match you 100% up to $100. So you want to put in $50, you're going to get $100 to play with. You can do point spreads, player props, like an actual regular betting app, but legal in the state of Washington. And when you win, you can take it out as real cash. So it'd mean the world to me. If you want to help support me, go sign up to the Rebet app. Put in $10 if you just want to try, just start and have fun. You'll get $20 from that $10, and I will continue to be able to use them as a sponsor. So please check out the Rebet app. Links in the description right below. Let's talk about the offense. The offense, despite some negativity that I put out, which was 3 points in the second half, in overtime 6 points total between second half and overtime, the offense put up some yards passing. 327 yards for Geno Smith. The receiving core looked really good, made a lot of big plays. The run game didn't look great. Understandable. Let's start with that. Understandable. Zach Charbonnet is a backup running back. I'm not saying that in a negative way. He had 5 catches for 31 yards. He's good out of the backfield. He's really good at running people over and making a big play when he's not the RB1. When he's giving Kenneth Walker a break and he breaks out one little play out to the outside and truck sticks a guy, he's great for those scenarios. He's just not a running back one, which is totally fine. He did his job today with Kenneth Walker out. 14 carries, 38 yards, is only 2.5 yards per carry. But he got his touchdown when it was there. He had an opportunity to score a touchdown. He got it. He had 5 catches for 31 yards receiving, which that's great. And that's why he's a, secondary running back. But I don't blame him either. Kenneth Walker's a superstar, despite our offensive line. Zach Charbonnet is Zach Charbonnet in spite of, with our offensive line. Our offensive line has not been good. They shuffled around. They took out Anthony Bradford to put in Christian Haynes, and then they, because George Fant's out, and they're moving things around at right guard, and they're moving things around all game. It's like in and out. There was issues. The offensive line's not great right now. I'm hoping once you get a healthy Abe Lucas, you figure out what you want to do at the guard position too, at the right guard. You kind of figure out how it all pieces together. I'm not sure what it's going to be exactly, but the offensive line's just not there yet. And that's why I don't blame Zach Charbonnet. Kenneth Walker does it despite the offensive line being bad. Because Kenneth Walker truly, in my eyes, is a top 5 to 7 running back. One of the best running backs in the NFL. And he's going to be a future star. He might crack into the top 5 here this year. So that's okay. Geno Smith, 103 quarterback rating. 33 for 44. 75% completion percentage. That's with 5 drops from the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, I think, had 2. Jackson Smith and Jigba had 1 or 2. No, 1. And then Noah Fant had 2. 75% completion despite 5 drops with 327 yards and a touchdown. And like I said, that 103 quarterback rating. He was elite today. The numbers with less touchdowns, or, you see whatever you want to, however you want to see it. If they had those 3 of those 5 drops got caught, you're talking about a guy that was maybe 36 for 44 with 370 yards and a touchdown or 2. Elite level of play. He kept us in that game. He kept the offense alive. And of course, we have to add the fact that the receivers get some credit as well. DK Metcalf, obviously his numbers are a little inflated because he had a 56-yard touchdown, but he was 10 catches for 129 yards. So that's, 12.9 yards per catch. With that 56-yard long touchdown, great to see. Jackson Smith and Jigba with the best game of his young career. He played phenomenal. This is the guy that we drafted 20th overall in the first round. 12 catches for 117 yards. 9.8 yards per catch with a long of 24. So it's a little different. DK had that inflated 56, so he's up to 12.9 yards per catch. Jackson Smith-Njigba was just legit. 12 catches, 10 yards a catch pretty much, 117 yards, a 24-yard, a catch at 1 point, 16 targets his way. So Geno Smith is loving having him there. 16 targets tells you how much Geno Smith's enjoying having Jackson Smith-Njigba out on the field. Zach Charbonnet, 5 catches, 31 yards. You had 2 catches for 15 yards by Tyler Lockett. Pretty much one catch. It was one for... He had one 16-yard catch and one negative 1-yard catch. So he has 2 catches for 15 yards. But he made a good play there at the end of the game. That was a important first down. Jake Bobo, 2 catches, 15 yards as well. That core is really good. I mean, you're good when Tyler Lockett, who could be a wide receiver 1 or 2 on some teams right now. I mean, if you could put Tyler Lockett on like the Chargers, he might be their best receiver. Only had 2 targets and 2 catches for 15 yards, but you still look at the rest of your receivers and you have 10 for 129 and 14 targets to Metcalf, 12 for 117 with 16 targets to JSN. That's amazing to have. Not every team has that luxury. The Seahawks do, and that's why with that luxury, they were able to find a way to not have Kenneth Walker, an elite running back, and not have the backup have the best game. He didn't have a bad game at all. Don't get me wrong. He's not the best game. And you still have your quarterback out there slinging the football, finding a way to make it work, getting enough points, which is all that matters, winning the game in the fourth quarter or overtime, 23-20, getting a final drive that mattered to get in field goal range. And Jason Myers, of course, per usual, knocks it down. 3 for 3 from field goals, 100%. 2 for 2 in extra points. He had a 44-yard field goal. Jason Myers was legit again, and of course, made him. Of course, that's what he does. Jason Myers this year, 100% on field goal percentage. He's 5 for 5. He has one of them between 20 and 29 yards, 2 of them from 30 to 39, one of them from 40 to 49, and one 50-plus yard field goal with 4 extra points made as well. All of them, 100%. He is on fire right now. Jason Myers is one of those kickers you can just trust to knock it down when the game matters, which is exactly what he did. I don't love these 10 a.m. games. It was too early for me. I don't like it while all the other games are on. I'm kind of trying to see what's going on, but it is what it is. I like it now because we got the win, and we got to win on the East Coast, which is hard to do, 10 a.m. game when you're traveling from Seattle. But back in Seattle next week against the Miami Dolphins. We don't know who the quarterback is. We'll find out. I'll be back all week talking about it. You know what I'm going to do? We did it last week. I'm going to do a PFF breakdown of the where the Seahawks rank on every category on PFF once they come out this week. We're going to do a little preview of the Dolphins game later this week. We're going to maybe do some player breakdown, some film breakdown this week. So make sure you like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned. I love you guys, and I appreciate all the support. It means the world to me. The 2 things you could do for me is check out Seattle on Tap everywhere. That's our brand. Me and my brother have a podcast there. We do Mariners, Seahawks, Huskies, all that stuff. We just had a Huskies podcast after the Apple Cup loss. We have a Mariners podcast coming tomorrow and a Seahawks podcast coming tomorrow at Seattle on Tap on YouTube, SeattleOnTap.com with our merch and our blogs. All that means a lot to me if you check those out and support. And like I said, check the Rebet app if you're in Washington or any other state. If you're tired of different apps in any state outside of 3 of them, you can Google it, what states is Rebet legal in. You can put up to $100 to match you $100. Use code ONTAP or the link in our description. And I love you guys so much for being here. And I love my Seahawks. 2-0. Feels great. 2-0. Wore this hat, the throwback hat, both weeks in a row. So you know what I'm going to be wearing next week is the throwback Seahawks hat, because I am not taking it off until they lose this year. Well, I'll take it off at night, but you know what I mean. I'm not taking it off on Sundays. So I love you guys. We'll be back. And please check out the links below. And please like and subscribe if you want to be one of my homies. I really appreciate it. I love y'all.